Greetings, my friends. Long time no see. What I've got for you today is the interview with Lou, one of my most popular and talked about, most fascinating videos, the Alpha Class Cryptids, aka Death Merchants. Video was a couple of years ago now, and I finally was able to get an interview with Lou himself, the man who actually experienced this disturbing encounter with these otherworldly creatures. I'll be updating you as far as the podcast and things like that and the future of this channel pretty soon, but suffice it to say that this is probably going to be the only way you'll be able to hear this particular interview anytime in the near future. So I hope you enjoy it. And also, I've got a special treat for you. This is our first actual product-sponsored video. Studio Earbuds, a Swedish company, has been generous enough to provide me with a piece of electronics that I think are really nice. And I've got a short 2-minute long review in the middle of this video, and I hope you enjoy that. I had some fun making a little mini review video for you guys. And the TLDR of that is that if you go to sudio.com, that's SUDIO.com, you can select from their range of earbuds and earphones, wireless mostly, and enter the code X15 for 15% off of your purchase. That really adds up when you're talking about expensive electronics. So show some love if you're looking for some really good, high-quality, beautifully designed headphones or earbuds. Go to studio.com and use X15 as your promo code for 15% off. All right, my friends, I hope you guys enjoy this interview. I hope you're doing well, and I will be speaking to you pretty soon. Take care, my friends. Enjoy. Hello, my friend. I am Mr. X Dreams, your guide in this place that lives in the twilight between the waking world and the dream world. You're now listening to the Dreamercast. Here we explore the stories and ideas that, I believe, connect all human beings across both space and time. Monsters, magic, gods and ghosts, the multiverse. There is more to this existence than meets the eye. But I tell you the truth, friend. Stay with me, and you and I will together witness the birth of new worlds. Welcome to my realm. Welcome to the Dreamercast. Hey there, my dreamers. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to drop me a nice 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps me out, and I would appreciate it very much. And by the way, if you have a paranormal story of your own that you'd like to share here on the Dreamercast, head over to my website, mrxdreams.com. That's MRXDREAMS.com, where you'll find a story submission page along with links to my merchandise, YouTube channel, and other ways to support the show. If this is your first time here, welcome, my friend. I'm glad to have you. If not, welcome back, my dreamer. I want you to open your mind, listen and consider these stories and their implications. Understand that the machinations of this world may be stranger than you once believed. Now, let's get into some stories and discussion here on the Dreamercast. My friends, what you are about to hear is a fascinating, chilling story, and it's one that I've spoken about before. Real quick, I want to give you a short synopsis of it before we get into the interview itself. This story is about Lou, a New Yorker, a guy who works on Wall Street, who happens by chance across the path of two bizarre creatures, humanoids that have the ability to manipulate time and space around him. And these two creatures happen to be interested in a particular homeless man in an alleyway. If you haven't heard my story on YouTube about this, it's called Alpha Class Cryptids. Check it out if you want to hear my own rendition of this story that I got from Lou several years ago by now. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the interview. All right, my friends, welcome to another episode of the Dreamercast. Now, today, we have a guest here that I honestly never thought I'd hear from again, and I'm more than pleased to know that not only is he alive and well, but he's right here on the Dreamercast, ready to share a fantastic story firsthand. Now, this story was one of the most jaw-dropping, mind-shattering accounts I'd ever received in my time as a storytelling YouTuber. And if you recall, I actually created a new term for the entities in question here, for better or for worse. I called them Alpha Class Cryptids. Bizarre creatures with powers and abilities to manipulate time and space, working unseen in the shadows before our very eyes, and using human beings as pawns in some kind of grand scheme. So today I give you the man who witnessed the goings-on behind the veil one time and lived to tell the tale. My dreamers, please welcome Lou.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lou, for agreeing to this interview. I sent you an email a few weeks ago, and honestly, when someone, I think you contacted me the first time, maybe sometime 2016, a couple of years ago, and normally that just it doesn't. I don't really get responses when I reach out to someone who contacted me 3 years ago. But I was like, you know what? I'm doing the Dreamercast. Why would I not? How could I not at least try to contact one of the individuals who gave me one of the craziest stories out of any of them that I've ever gotten? And I'm so glad that you responded.
I definitely appreciate you reaching out again. It's just weird because it's something that I didn't really think I was going to revisit this either. You know, it's been so long, and like I said earlier before we started recording, it's in the interim. I've done my best to try to rationalize. You know, this is something that I've had to come to terms with, whether real or not. This is etched into my memory forever. This is something that still, you know, it still pulls at me whenever I'm in that part of town, you know, or whenever I'm by myself walking by a lonely alley or alcove in the city. Because I mean, if you've been to New York, you know how labyrinthine it can get.
Oh yeah,
especially in Lower Manhattan.
Yeah, I've been through there a couple times as an adult, but I was actually born in Queens. Grew up for a little bit up there.
That's actually where I live now. But
yeah, so you're still up there in the mix, but no sightings of these bizarre creatures since then. I hope, right?
No, I mean, I've definitely had other experiences. Nothing quite as intense as this. But no, not like this. And those are going to be conversations for another day. But like this was the big one.
Oh yeah, and let's get into that. I'd like to hear, because we spoke for a few minutes before this we started recording, but there's a bunch of things that we're going to discuss afterwards. But let's take everybody through from your perspective this time. What happened on that day, somewhere around Zuccotti Park? Am I right?
Well, I mean, God, it's been so long too. It was funny because in the story, I like that I was depicted as sort of like a well-to-do like banker type. In reality, I'm pretty blue collar. Like, yeah, I worked in the financial district for years, but I work as support staff. I worked as everything from a file clerk to a porter. I'm on the ground level, which is why I move around a lot. You know, it's a constant hustle, and I think that's what kind of made me sort of extra sensitive to people being sort of ignored, because I was constantly in an environment where things were happening around me, sort of being in it while not being in it, being someone that is sort of taken for granted because I do the menial support tasks that the guys in the suits don't, you know.
Right.
And that's what made me extra sensitive when, I'm hustling to get to and from where I got to go to the next job, to the next appointment, to the next thing. Because as a contractor, if you're late, if you miss, like that's it, you can get replaced. You can't stop moving. And I felt for the people protesting, and as much as I wanted to be there with them, the reality of it was like, while my heart was there, I couldn't stop. I couldn't risk losing. I couldn't risk having to start from scratch, and with another agency, with another client company, and so it was very much like head down, get through, head down, get through, and stepping up for people that had no other choice than to be there. Like, they weren't just there to protest. They weren't just there to be seen. They were there because that's where they could be. And it kind of destroys a little part of yourself when you know that somebody else is hurting, but you can't help, and you have to make yourself okay with not being able to help. And maybe that was the headspace that I was in when this happened. But it's what happened. At the time, the things were so big in terms of the protests around the park that there was no way to get through to get to the yellow train. So, I had to get on the Fulton Street stop, and I was like, you know what, I can't get through this crowd, and I have to go around it. And that sucks because I'm going to be late. And keeping that in my mind, in that particular day, I had that same thought, and I had that same sort of like drive. But, thankfully, the only place I had to get to was home. But even then, it was like, I better get home. And I remember just not wanting to deal with anything and dipping into that corner. And, seeing folks with their signs and with their hands out, like, that's, sadly, it's something that you end up growing a thick skin around, in the rat race, and, that it happened again. It's funny because that little alley was a place that I would duck through, regularly to get over to the right stop. Because Fulton's a hub, right? So there's different lines I could have taken to get to Queens. And my headspace was completely there in the mundane, and there was that young man with a sign. I think if I remember correctly, he was a vet. Because he had one of those signs that's like I'm pretty sure you've seen them, or like, this is like, most of the cardboard is full of with words, basically. And and it gets hard to even if you could slow down and stop, like, being able to read all of that, so that was sort of the first thing that stood out. I'm walking towards this person, and I'm looking at his sign, and I kept thinking to myself, I was like, man, that's a lot. I remember reading all of it, and sort of that's kind of when it hit me, when I was like, wow, like, how did I have time going at the clip that I'm going to read all of this, and I'm still like a few yards away from this person. And that's when I was like, wait, I'm not really moving at the speed that I want to move, and this is weird. And it's hard not to dissociate in a situation like that. And as somebody who has an anxiety disorder, dissociation happens sometimes when you're in the middle of an attack. And I was like, oh, it's this again. What do I do now? This sucks. I hope nobody sees me like this. And everything was just sort of like as if I was moving through molasses. Um, and so, as much as I felt bad for the guy, I was like, all right, well, that sucks, but I need to get myself out of here if I'm really feeling this sick, you know? Um, and I remember thinking that and looking up and noticing for the first time the man in brown. And I knew there was something up just in the way that he walked and the way that he veered off. Not that people don't use alleyways like that, like I said, to just like cut through, but it was sort of like he was meandering, but not like tourists do, you know, when they kind of like stop to look around, see what there are, and check out their phones, etc. No, he was hunting. You know, I remember thinking that very clearly. I was like, "This dude's looking for something. What's he doing?" Like, and he was walking straight toward me, and I kept thinking, man, when this, whatever this is, when this dizzy spell is over, and I realize that I'm going at the right speed, I'm gonna crash into this guy, and it's gonna suck. Like, I'm gonna look like an asshole. This is just gonna be super embarrassing. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Um, and then everything started to slow down, and I started panicking because I was like, all right, am I dreaming? Is this a real thing? Am I gonna wake up now? Like, am I in bed right now? Did I fall asleep at work? Am I late? What is this? Um, I know before we started recording, I was talking about like the difference between a dream and a memory. And I was living in that space of like, is this real? Is this not real? Um, and I kept thinking to myself, well, maybe that's why I can't move. Maybe I'm just frozen like this. And then he tipped his hat back. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. I understand.
And I was like, all right, I am 100% dreaming. Something, maybe I messed up my meds or something. I don't know. This is weird. Because up until that point, right, it was just a regular dude. Like, you get like the mid-level pencil pusher type dudes in the financial district. You know, the guys that like didn't quite age out, but didn't quite get promoted, and they just sort of like he was. I mean, I could say unassuming, but that's like that doesn't really quite get it. Like, the dude was so plain, so plain,
Like
like
conspicuously plain somehow.
yeah, like the more I looked at him, the more I was like, how does nobody, like, the more I looked at him, the weirder he got, you know? But up until that point, up until I saw his face, like, I would have just walked right by him, you know? Well, all right, it's kind of weird, but whatever. And that's the first time to see somebody just, you know, doing their best. But, and it wasn't like he had, like, some sinister look or whatever. Like, it was blank. It was blank. It was nothing. There was nothing there. It was just a white face and black eyes. And I remember like that registering, that clicking. I was like, the black eyes, like, um, you know, I was like, why would you be dressed like that? Like, why would you be like one of these like, salary guys, like putting a sclera contacts in? That's weird. But like, you know, people, they're actors and stuff. People are creative. Maybe he's just, you know, maybe he's expressing himself. I don't know. But my mind viscerally was like, all right, this is weird, but this is okay. Everything is okay. Nothing's wrong. You know, I was trying really hard to just
give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh my God, I was trying so hard to reconcile what I was seeing with what my hindbrain was screaming at me to run, but like I couldn't. I couldn't. There was a lot of like very pointedly ignoring what my body was doing. And the real frustrating part, the part where like the panic started really rising, was when I was looking around myself and like there were other people there. There were other people there, and they were just walking by. And nobody looked up from their phone. Nobody looked aside. It's like I and the guy in the brown coat weren't even there. And like on the one hand, I was like, holy shit. But on the other hand, like when you live in New York, like the stuff that you just have to push past, I wasn't really surprised, but a little bit, like a little offended, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the brown coat didn't care about me at all either. You know, it was weird because we were right in each other's line of sight, but totally ignored me too. He just crouched down, and the dude with the sign looks up to him, and you know, and usually someone who's out, who's down and out like that, like when somebody finally gives them attention, like kind of glomp on them, and try to latch on, but this kind of froze him. And before he could like say anything, like the man in the brown hat, just like brown coat, he just like puts his finger to his lips, and then they start talking. And I can't hear them. Everything was coming in and out. I thought maybe it was my headphones. I tried to take my ear pods out, but like I couldn't move my hands. And what even is that? Yikes. And so there he was, just talking to this person, and it was like it's kind of like static, but not really. It was just kind of muffled. It was just like you know when your head's underwater, you know, when you hear the water more than you hear other stuff.
Right.
It was like that, like over and over and over again. Um, and like I was like, is this still an attack? But I didn't have vertigo or anything, so I'm like, what the hell's going on? And they're talking, and I remember that I was still moving, but I wasn't really gaining much ground. And I just kept thinking, somebody say something, do something to somebody. And then the next thing I know, I hear the kid say, "Oh Jesus!" The stays with me. He's like, "I want to die." Like he like recoiled from the guy. Like, wait, I don't want to die. And I was like, "Oh, what is going on here? What?" This weird looking dude has said some stuff. Then I started thinking of like, you know, some of the stuff that I read online and like saw about like black-eyed kids. And I was like, oh, maybe is this one of those things? Is that what I'm seeing? But this is not a child. This is a grown-up thing. This is very clearly an adult thing. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm using the word thing. I'm not even using the word man. Because like his skin was so off, like it wasn't like it was white, but like I don't, you know, it was ash colored. Really, the white part of the ash. And just and it was hard to see. Like I couldn't tell if, and then this messed me up too. I was like I couldn't tell if like is that his eyes were black or that he just didn't have any. Like,
Damn.
yeah. And I'm sitting there looking at this like oh Lord, you know. And I'm fairly religious. I'm Muslim, and I just reciting Surah Fatiha, and you know uh, just asking God to, you know, um, protect me. We say, "Audible Shaitan regime," which means to seek refuge in you, Lord, from Satan, the deceiver. And I just kept thinking that over and over in my head. I was like, "Oh Lord, please, like whatever this is, and this is some Shaitan. I want to get away from this." And he goes, I finally hear him, and like, oh, that voice, shit, that voice. It was so ugly, man. It was so. There's no other way to put it. It's ugly. He like had like, it wasn't quite a chuckle, but that kind of like that tone you get when like somebody said something ridiculous, and you're like, oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
like,
of incredulous, like.
Yeah. And I remember exactly how I put it. It was like he couldn't have died anyway, Robbie. And the kid, like his eyes went wide, and he was like, he literally, if he could go through the wall behind him, he would have. Like the fear, and the guy again, like his tone was super like kind of mocking, but his face was devoid of any kind of expression or emotion. It was all in that ugly voice. It was so, oh God, it was so gross. Like even now, like I wish I can't describe it. I know you made like in the video you made those noises. It was really cool, but there was nothing cool about this. It was so cool.
Yeah, I did
so
the best
cool.
I could with
Oh
it was a little artistic license.
I had my friends listen. They're like, "Oh man, it's spooky," but this.
No, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
If I can't put words to how terrible it felt just to hear that, and just the way he regarded him, like this kid's fear was just the most ridiculous thing. The most ridiculous thing. And I don't even know what he said left, but it was something along the lines of like, do you want to die comfortable? Like, do you want to? I just like it's crazy because I remember his voice, I remember his exact words, but it was like the question is, how do you want to die? Do you want to die comfortable and wanting of nothing? And I was like, that's not even the way people talk, wanting of nothing. Or here, in this, it's the way he said it, in this, where no one's gonna notice until you've been rotting. And again, like that terrible tone, like he was talking to him, like he was talking to like a stupid kid who said something, but his face is nothing, no emotion, nothing. And I was like, okay, the dude's wearing a mask. The dude is wearing a mask. He's got to be wearing a mask.
Nope. That's disturbing.
Couldn't have been, because like the next thing I know, I realized I was closer now. I'm like, I'm way too close to this. I really don't want this person to see me. And like,
were you able to sort of veer away in one direction or the other to kind of steer yourself away from them, or you were just stuck on the track that you were before?
Nope. That would have been super cool if I could have veered out of the way. I would have turned right around and run the hell out of there. Nah, I couldn't stop my feet. I couldn't stop going. Couldn't stop. It was crazy. It was like swimming. When you try to like run through water when you still have clothes on. It was like that. I'm just like, oh, I can't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hear another voice, and it was like that one, just a little bit more high pitched. And if I could run, I would have run right there. Like I don't know how I didn't just have a heart attack. It's crazy. All of a sudden, there's this other dude, and he's like maybe a head taller than Brown. He must have been, because he was taller than me. Mr. X, I'm 6'2". this dude was definitely taller than me. And it was just like with the brown shirt, dude. Like, it was just this ugly suit. Plain, ugly suit. And usually like you wear a suit and you got like the white shirt with the tie. Everything was gray. The shoes, the tie, the shirt. Same thing with brown. Everything.
Oh.
And I was like, what the hell? Did they just like look at a catalog of like, this is what people look like? Because I swear that's what it felt like. And he looked just like brown. Just thinner. Just a little bit stretched, if he could. If that makes sense. Like just taller and a little thinner. And I remember I think he was smoking because there was a little flicker of like an ember around his mouth. And before I could sort of like register everything, like that thing starts talking. And he wasn't even looking at the kid either. He was just like, take the money. We have things to do. Like he was like the guy in brown was clearly like messing with this kid. Like he had this tone like he clearly wanted to hurt this person. The guy in gray sounded like he really did have a bunch of other stuff to do and was just coming to pick up his boy. Like he wanted this shit.
So he didn't actually care about that situation.
He's just like, take the money.
He was just there. It just happened to be there.
We have things to do. So I remember like his he didn't say much. Like Brown was talking. Jeez. And he was a little talker, and I couldn't hear what he was saying because it was a lot of it wasn't English because those weren't sounds that people make. I live in New York. I know different languages. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican. I know Spanish, or at least I understand the Spanish fluently. Like I have friends and family from all over. Yeah, no.
It's an important distinction
don't
there.
Speak like we do, but I love them. And like my friends, like I have a really diverse group of friends and family, and you could pick out a language. This wasn't. The people don't make those noises. They don't make those sounds. It was gross. But Gray didn't talk a lot, so like everything Gray said just it stuck. Like I remember everything Gray said perfectly because he didn't talk too long at all. But the Brown, take the money, Robert. We have things to do. We have things to do. Like just like what things? What are you doing? More of this? Like what are the things? And like it was crazy because like Brown, I know Brown had just this like wad of cash. Just gave him this wad of cash, and like the kid went from like abject fear, right, to like from abject fear to just being overwhelmed by the sheer amount he was looking at. Like those were hundreds, and you know how thin paper money is, and this was like 2 fists.
Yeah.
2 fists deep. He just started crying. It was like any fear that he had melted because he was. I mean, I get it. That much money, shit. My ass is struggling with minimum wage, man. I don't know. Like some crazy entity gives me that much money. I don't know if I would say no. That sucks to even think, but like, man, times is tough, and I get it. But at the same time, it's just like I couldn't help but think, like, what's the cost? What's the cost? How desperate you got to be to ignore just how much danger you're in? Because make no mistake, that was definitely danger coming off of him.
And he clearly felt it up to that point. But I guess he was so easily distracted by that, the temptation
And
there.
he books it. And I hate myself for this. Like, there was that moment when he like runs out, and I'm like, oh, cool, you get to run. And I was moving faster, but I was still moving. And that's when he took the money. He left.
He took the money. He took the money,
couldn't
right?
get out of there fast enough. And they watched him leaving. And since he walked by me, they both looked at me. You know when they say like people like you feel like somebody's looking through you? Yeah. Except for Gray. Like Brown had this whole like smarmy, oily, like kinda haughty, mocking air to him. But Gray, everything about Gray was hateful. Like I can't even describe it any other way. Because he just kept smoking his cigarette, I guess, because it was just like this little bit of ember. I can actually see a cigarette. It's like there was just little bits of flame around his mouth, and you know, he was just as derisive. Like the way that Brown was talking to Robbie, he was regarding Brown when he spoke in that whatever it is language. Like it was clear that like he had a contempt for Brown. To the point where, like, even though they were looking at me, it was clear they didn't care about me. Because they were literally looking through me and clicking and making those sounds at each other. And finally, like, it's crazy because, like, Brown just kept getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And he stood up and he, like, looks at Gray and he, like, starts coughing. And he said very, very, very clearly, he said, English. And then Gray, oof, it's like Gray's mouth split open. It was the worst thing I ever saw in my life. And like the sound he made, it took me years to like really. I'm pretty sure he was laughing at him because he was all like. The next thing I remember him saying is, "That far gone." Like he pitied Brown. Like Brown was this colossal screw up. The way he looked at him, like, ugh, that far gone. And then Brown starts sort of like rolling his shoulders, super uncomfortable. He was like, like when teenagers get like huffy at their parents. That whole like, and then he even he sounded so like a person at that moment because he was like, whatever. And I was like, 2 seconds ago you were this like unknowable creature from God knows where, and now you're like, whatever. What? But before he could like start like, before he could follow that up, Gray stopped looking through me and started looking at me. And that's when I couldn't move at all. There was no more slow-mo. I was a statue. And he just kept staring at me, and it was like he was staring at me forever. I can't tell you how much time I was there. I don't know if it's 2 seconds, I don't know if it's 2 hours, but it felt like forever. And it was terrifying. And I could feel my eyes start to like sting and brim with tears, but like I didn't actually cry. It was just like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. This thing is looking at me. And he just kind of does that disgusting laugh again. He's like, he said something along the lines of, well now. Like, oh, he says, look what this one can do. And this is like this long pause, and finally he just goes, cute. But not like he was saying that to me, like he was looking at Brown, like almost to check if he had said the right word. You know, like, is that what I'm supposed to say? You know, like, because he wasn't regarding me, he was regarding Brown. And Brown was just so prickly. He was done. He had come to do what he wanted to do. That far gone, huh? It was crazy because I remember when he said that far gone. Sorry, I'm just remembering this part now because, like, oh shit, those eyes. I remember when Brown was being like petulant. He like said something to Gray. It's hard because it kept coming in and out. And Gray, of course, just there was so much spite and hate that he was just sort of radiating towards Brown. And he said something. He's like, "It'll be fine. Don't worry," you know. And Gray just kind of takes a pause, and he's like, "Yeah. Then why did you lie?" Like, the fact that Brown lied about something was just like, it was the most pathetic thing to Gray. Gray was.
And that's something, whatever that lie was about was not revealed to you in the context of the story, correct?
Nope. Not even a little bit.
That's something I've always wondered about, and it sort of lended itself to the just gritty realism of the story, even though it's such a fantastic and out there concept. There's things going on between these two that you have no idea about, and they don't care to educate you on, you know.
Not even a little bit. I was nothing to them. I was nothing. It's like, why'd you lie? And like, fuck. Oh. Brown's like, doesn't matter. He was like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'll be wearing that chimp by the next moon. I'll be wearing that chimp by the next moon. And like, I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And they're both looking at me. And Gray's all like, cute. Like, is that what I'm supposed to say? And Brown was so pissed. Like, he was done. He had been done since the moment Gray arrived. And the next thing I know, I don't know how he traversed the 3 or so yards it was. It had to be about 10 feet away from me. And the next thing I know, he was like right in front of me. Right in front of me. And he was still talking to Gray. He was just like, whatever. Again, whatever. Like a kid, like a person. Whatever. Like a chimp's a chimp. They're all the same. And like, they said some other stuff to each other, so I don't even know what it was. They said it's, at one point I remember hearing the word vermin, but I couldn't really process because it was all happening in front of me. And the next thing I know, like, he's talking to me. He was like, "Hey, you chimp, leave now." And what was I supposed to do? I couldn't do anything. I wanted to be like, "Bro, I can't move." And then I remember thinking how ridiculous that sounded in my head. I was just like, "Bro, I can't move."
Yeah. To this godlike being, you know.
No, what
Goodness
to do.
gracious.
I was like, "Listen, Bob." Like, if I could talk, like, I was so close to being like, "Listen, Bob, I can't. I wish I could. Whatever you did, maybe turn the pause button off because I'm trying to get out of here too. Like, what is up?" Then I remember thinking, like, I just wanted to walk through this. This was just a shortcut. I just wanted to get home. And like, as I thought that, he kind of looks at me and he's just like, "Then keep walking." But the way you said it, it was like, just all the anger, all the resentment that he had built up against like Gray, like, just rolled onto me. Just kind of puked it all on me. It was like, keep walking. And then I'm in Columbus Circle. That's a hike. It's a hike that you make on the train in like 20 minutes, right? 15 to 20. Sometimes a little bit longer if it's rush hour. And I was working part-time, so like it was not rush hour. So I had clocked out. It was like 2 when I clocked out. And then this ridiculousness happened. And then the next thing I know, like I'm up at Columbus Circle. And it was just after 3. Just after. Like I remember like being upset because I had to leave work a little bit late. So like I actually punched out at like maybe like 10 or 15 after. I don't remember how long. This was years ago. But I remember being pissed. I remember being pissed because I was running late. And I lived up by Ditmars back then. Now I'm closer to Flushing, but like I realize that your listeners probably don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure a couple of them do. I mean, knowing the area, I actually looked up the distance between Zuccotti Park and Columbus Circle. It's like 5.5 miles.
Yeah.
That is a hike.
That's a hike. And like, boom, there I was. And like the only reason I even came out of it was because like I was right about to get hit by a car. Like I remember like then my next memory was that cab almost hit me. And this guy's just like holding on to my shoulders. So my shoulders is like, oh, you okay? Like you good? You good? And I remember this family of tourists walking by and like the dad's sneering at me. It was like he's on drugs, like to his wife. And these people are all on drugs. Yeah, because you see a brown man and let me stop. But like of course, yeah, I'm having a moment, but you know, it's gotta be the drugs. And I'm like, and I remember shaking and being like, that's what I'm upset about. Really, that's what I'm upset about.
Yeah.
Some racist asshole.
Yeah, just because a brown guy can walk 65 miles per hour through New York doesn't mean he's on drugs.
Oh Lord, I mean, I don't even know how I got there. Did I take the train? Did I grab a cab myself? I don't know.
Mm.
I mean, thankfully the guy that like pulled me away, like he's this skinny skinny older black guy. Like you remind me of some of the brothers from the mosque that I converted in back in the day. Like some of the old Nation brothers with the suits on with the little bow ties and papers.
Yeah.
He's like, "You all right, son?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's real, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was like the opposite of like, because here it was like looking all clean cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, very like warm paternal. And it's like, hey, like, you all right, son? Like, you good? And it's like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I was like, listen, I'm real sorry. Like, good looking out. Like, thank you so much. It's a real good luck, but I can't. I gotta go. And he's like, you good though? You good, son? I was like, no. I got to go.
Like, I'm gonna be real with you right now. I'm not good, son. Oh man.
So I get home and like I said, I'm just sitting down and like my wife at the time had texted me. She was like, "Hey, where you been?" Like, I've been texting you, and that's when I saw like she had been texting me. I was like, I'm home now. I didn't even know what to say. She's like, what's up? I was like, I got home. She's like, when? I was like, I was asleep. And I remember convincing myself of that. I was like, yep, that's what happened. I was asleep. Totally. I went home. I fell asleep. That's what happened.
So did you end up getting home later than you were thinking, or I'm trying to make sense of the timeline.
Yeah. Like a half.
Like a half hour.
Like,
So I wonder, I wish there was a way to know how long it took you to travel on foot that 5.5 miles.
If I went on foot.
Yeah, if that is what happened.
I don't even know.
So you just remember just kind of a blur of walking, and then you're there.
No, Mr. X, no, not even there. Not even that. Like, this dude was in my face, told me to hit the bricks, and the next thing I know, I'm almost getting hit by a car. up at Columbus. Like there was no, I was there and I was like, how did I get here? You know, and like I had to be real with myself because I was like, yeah, clearly I must have walked up. No, I don't even know. Like, to be real with you right now, I don't even know. And that shit was scary. And you know what happens? So you try to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
You have to.
So that story, first of all, when you first sent me the story, I don't tend to just believe people off top, you know, like when just them, they say something to me, they tell me a story, and I'm just going to completely take it 100% seriously, take them at their word. But there was something about your story that communicated these just kind of raw emotions, the visceral fear and terror that you felt seeing these bizarre people or creatures or entities, whatever you want to call them. And the way that you wrote that, which, by the way, thank you very much again for writing it in an intelligible way when you were first reaching out to me with that story, because it was very clear and conveyed the feelings that you felt. And it's kind of, I've mentally doubled down about this story from now that I've heard the entire thing with the emotions and the feeling and the intent of your actual voice telling it. And I hope everyone else can appreciate that, especially those who heard my rendition, my take of the story. I do have to apologize for mistaking you for a white collar. As just my assumption. I hear Wall Street and I'm like, oh, it must be some kind of high-powered businessman or something, because I'm sure they even have those guys cleaning the bathrooms up there on Wall Street.
Sometimes I'm the dude that wipes that dude's table off.
Yeah. So that's I gave you a raise in the story. Gave you a promotion. Right? You were discovered.
I thought that was cool.
So I got a couple of questions. Then we're going to talk about theories and ideas, things that you've come across, epiphanies that you might have had, or anything like that in the years since then. Because this was back in 2011. That's at this point, at the time of this taping, over 8 years ago. And so, how did you feel physically when you were in that alleyway? Like I know you said it was almost like moving through molasses, but I want to know the internal processes in your body, your blood pressure, the pressure in your head, your eyes. How did it feel being there?
I don't really understand. I'm sorry.
For example, I've had sleep paralysis several times. Sometimes a couple of those times I've woken up and I can't breathe. And for example, it's not just that I can't breathe, but I've felt that, every cell in my body seemed to have been stopped in time. And I'm not just gasping or anything. My lungs are not moving at all. Neither is my heart or any other thing in my body. Like that, the feeling, did you feel like paralyzed, or was it you were told you felt normal, but you just were moving in a strange way, or you felt restricted moving? You know what I mean?
It's just, I'll be honest with you, I don't actually remember. I just remember walking as though walking through something, like the air was like a solid thing that I would had to sort of push through. But like, those when you're at the airport and you're on those like expressway, they're like escalators, but just like flat.
Yeah. People movers or whatever they call them.
Yeah. Now imagine being on that with slow-mo and you can't turn around. And you can't move at all. Like I couldn't move. I was just kind of going. Like I had committed to walking this way, and my body was just doing that on autopilot, as slow as you could.
Oh man!
It was just, it was infuriating, because like I saw that like everything around me was going at normal speed, and I was not.
I just had a thought about this. Have you ever dropped something? Like, say you're holding a glass jar or something, and you drop it accidentally, and you look at it and you see the thing falling super slow. Or as an example, when I was a kid, I was putting away dishes, and there was a glass, like the top of a big pan, like a pot top, and it was made of glass.
Mm-hmm.
And I was drying it, and I guess I was distracted. I dropped it, and I remember it seemed like about a good 10 seconds watching that thing slowly fall to the ground. And when it hit the ground, like the type of glass that turns into little tiny chunks. It's like it shatters in that way, not to create large. I think it's like when tempered glass breaks, it shatters into little chunks. I saw the pattern of that shattering chunks of glass etch its way through the entire lid of the pot before it actually separated. I watched that happen.
Damn.
And I was totally aware of this during the time, and I could not move. I couldn't do anything to catch it, and I couldn't do like Spider-Man and grab it real quick in that little slow motion moment.
Mm-hmm.
I was just basically forced to watch and sit there. And I can tell you for a fact that took place over like less than a second. But I remember a good 10 seconds of time. It was probably like 0.3 seconds that it took for me to drop that thing and it fall to the ground and break.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe this all happened in an instant, and you, for some reason, were able to perceive it in the same way. Like the human brain is able to process things so much faster than we're normally aware of. And that, I wonder if that was not what happened to you that day. You know what I mean?
I definitely thought about that. To be honest, I don't. Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't want to fabricate, right? Like, I don't remember it that way. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like that. I don't. That sounds plausible.
Yeah, I'm just like throwing ideas out there because I want to make as much sense of this as I possibly can. Because like I said, I don't always believe when people tell me stories, but this one, I would be shocked and disappointed if I found out that, I was being punked right now with this story, and for the last 3 years,
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't know how to react if I knew one way or another. On the one hand, like, it exists in this space where, like, I know what I experienced and I know what I remember. I know it, but it's one of the things where, like, I haven't thought about it that much. I haven't really revisited it until like I felt the need to share it with you. But even after that, I pushed it out of my mind because the fear there is that if I dig into this too much, one of two things happens, right? Either one, it's all fabricated, which, maybe it was my mind doing this thing, and that sucks. But it means that was a really serious break, and that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was real, and holy crap, the implications there. So, like, it's a lose-lose for me.
No, I definitely feel you on that. It's
like,
geez, I don't even know what the worst case. I guess the best case scenario is that you're crazy, because then the rest of the world doesn't have to worry about these monsters.
Yeah, but that sucks for me.
Yeah, it sucks for you, but I mean, you might have to take one for the team on that one. And I mean, you'd be a hero, but it's the alternative is something did happen and it was external to you. It wasn't just occurring in your mind.
Which that, like, and that turns my stomach, honestly. That's the thing, that's the question that keeps me up at night sometimes.
So you said that you've even been to therapy about this.
Yeah.
Did you make any revelations or epiphanies during that time?
No, honestly, it was just ideas, explanations. One of my professionals said I might have just been like I may have been in a fugue state. Somebody else said that it might have been a reaction to my meds, except I didn't say anything, but I was like, I wasn't on anything at the time, so swing and a miss there, but I don't want to make it a thing, so sure. Mm-hmm.
I doubt that there's a lot of therapists out there that would even consider the possibility of something like this being a real thing.
That's the thing that, like, there's a helplessness there that is hard to explain, because on the one hand, like, you kind of want an explanation, and like, so you end up like sort of latching on to whatever's thrown at you because you don't want to like reconsider the alternative. But then like you have to do the you have to sorry, you gotta hedge your bets to one thing or another. And like for a while I thoroughly convinced myself, I was like, this is just your brain being bad to you, bro. You're good. This is fine. This wasn't a thing. Until I'm alone with my thoughts and I'm like, nah, you know better. And I'm like, no, it was just a thing. It wasn't real. Except like, who am I trying to fool?
Yeah, man. No, I believe me, I get it. And this is another thing I wanted to kind of throw at you about this. You know, I have one memory in particular. It involves, I've told the story a couple times, I think even on another podcast episode. I have a memory of my dad, who was a cop when I was younger, of him being shot. And I have a clear memory of that happening and me consoling my mother and seeing his damaged body armor and all this stuff. This happened when I was 13, and just maybe like 2 or 3 years ago I mentioned it to my parents for the first time ever, and they told me it never happened. And I'm an experienced dreamer. Dreaming is my whole thing. You know what I mean? I know the difference between dream and reality. And that was not a dream. That was reality. It happened. And I even called my best friend at the time and told him that at that moment, like within hours of it happening, I called him and said, hey, yeah, man, my dad got shot. And he remembers me calling him and telling him that. So my parents themselves are telling me that never happened. So it's just, I know what it's like to have a memory, a real world, real time, detailed memory of something, and be faced with the idea of it not being accepted by anyone other than yourself. You know, it's rough.
Like, writing to you was the first time that I actually said anything to anyone outside, just like professional. Because I was like, I can't talk about this. I mean, it was good because doing that made me, it made it easier to reconcile. It made it easier to talk about later. I remember some time later, like about a month or so after that, I remember going to prayer services at the Islamic Center that I go to, and just hanging out with some brothers afterwards, getting lunch, and the subjects turned to to the paranormal. And that's a thing that we do sometimes, is just tell what we call jinn stories. Because like, and not to go down a rabbit hole, but like part of my faith involves belief in otherworldly beings. That's a big part of it. We believe that any sentient life in the universe is either one of us, an angel, or a jinn. And jinn means hidden one, other. The thing with that is that other can be anything. Like, I know that in the West, like, that word gets translated and you think about like Robin Williams and what have you, like genies and lamps. But for us, it's so much deeper and it's so much more than that. And so because it's such a blanket, it's such an umbrella term, like that can mean anything. And I remember hearing some of these brothers' experiences, and I finally opened up a mind. I remember the sheikh there that was with us was like, yeah, he definitely had a jinn encounter, but like, I'm just, but what does that mean? He's like, sometimes it happens, brother. Sometimes that happens. And I'm like, but I don't know, like, it's so scary. Like, what do I do about that? He's like, you can't really do nothing, man. Sometimes it happens. We don't get to choose, really, when these things happen. It's about how you react to it. And I was like, well, we're ready for it. Because I didn't know what to do. And he was like, well, I mean, he said whatever a clergy person would say. It was like, hold on to your faith. But even having that answer and being able to talk about it definitely helped a lot. But it still nags at me, It's still, okay, so I had a gin encounter, sure. what does that mean? Why could I see them? Why could they see me? In Islam, it's haram to look for them, because they're supposed to be all around you. We believe that everyone has a jinn. Everybody.
Haram meaning like forbidden, right? Or it's frowned upon.
Yeah. And part of, like, we believe that part of the human soul is a jinn, is called the nafs. That's your lower self, your shadow self. And so everybody deals with it, right? Everybody has part of them that wars with themselves, but sometimes it is external, you know, and you never know. One of the reasons that it's haram to try to interact with these beings is because you don't know what you're going to get, you know. Not every jinn is a shaitan, but every shaitan is a jinn, so you don't know. But I didn't go looking for anything.
Shaitan, is that like Satan, adversary, obstacle, that type of thing?
Yeah. We believe that when Satan fell, he was of the jinn, the first and most beautiful of them. But his hatred of Adam got him cast out of heaven. We don't believe in a war in heaven. There was no war. Michael just said, "You're done," and he was done. Michael's the angel of finality, angel of death. And so when God said, "Can't be here no more," he just wasn't there no more.
Kind of makes sense logically.
Like, you done, you out. But Shaitan, and there was, when that happened, a good third of his people sided with him and became his family, and collectively vowed that they would destroy humanity to prove that we weren't worthy. But, you know,
yeah,
there's actually a story about one of Shaitan's sons, who, when he found out about the Prophet Muhammad, he and his boys, he heard about him, he vowed he was going to kill him. And he and a band of the jinn, were going to roll upon him and just destroy him. And on the way over, he had heard him recite his prayers and his supplication to God, and he found it so beautiful that he laid down arms and became Muslim and became his father's enemy.
It's an interesting story.
We believe that these entities are like us. They have free will. They can be terrible or not. But it's one thing to talk about these things in theory and as stories and as myths and legends. And it's another thing to be in front of something that, like, you can't explain.
Yeah, something that seems like it belongs among those. It's crazy to think about the fact that there very well could be, no matter what we think we know about the world or what science we are able to comprehend, there could be something just taking place right behind the world that we know. You know, I call it the veil. Beyond that veil is where I believe you were at that moment. And so many people visit there. Most of the time, it seems like it's totally by accident, you know.
Like walking into a fairy ring.
Oh yeah, I mean, it. I don't know if it's the location where you happen to be walking through, or you just walk through an area where the window between this world and the next was wide enough for someone to walk through accidentally.
Maybe. I mean, they seemed super surprised to see me.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. I've even, over the years, people have I can't tell you how many discussions I've had with subscribers over on my YouTube channel about this story and what it might mean and what these creatures might have been, what their deal might have been. I mean, we've thought about why what they wanted with Robbie, and you know, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, connecting the dots, and coming to the conclusion. It seems like these creatures are using human skin as a disguise, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe that or human bodies as a disguise. Like, say, perhaps once upon a time, Brown looked like a normal person because he had a fresh chimp suit to wear, and this is getting old and it's getting worn down. and therefore he's unable to communicate with the language that they're supposed to be able to use, the one that was painful for you to hear, the one that was disgusting
Yeah,
and terrifying.
yeah, that makes sense because like he struggled to talk at all in any language, whereas Gray was just back and forth like it was nothing. Gray was in his element. Gray looked like he he was super confident in what he was doing. Brown looked like he looked desperate.
So he was
Like
sort
as
of
crazy
trying
as
to having that bravado with Robbie around, but when it was just him and Gray, he kind
he
of
was
became a little
clearly
petulant.
he was clearly the lower man on the totem pole there. Like that was clear as day.
I got this sense that Gray, almost like Gray was on an assignment that he'd been given that he didn't want to be on. Like somebody said, "Hey, Brown needs help. Somebody to watch his back. Gray, you go with him while he goes to look for another suit." You know what I mean?
Jeez.
I got that feeling. I mean, because I've been there. I've been on the reluctant escort of a junior in various situations, whether it's military or otherwise. And
Actually, you're right. Like it did really seem like. I mean, not to put it that way, it did really seem like somebody picking up a kid from school. Like they didn't want to do it, but I keep thinking about like some of the times where like my stepdad would like pick me up from hockey practice, and it was just really clear that he wanted to be anywhere else in the world.
that's such a thought-provoking story. There's stories folded within that we'll just probably never know the answers to.
Never know.
And that's the thing that hurts,
Yep.
That's what sucks about it. There's known unknowns and unknown unknowns all wrapped in this story. Where are these things from? What are they doing? What do they lie about?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Like, why did you lie? About what?
Mm. And it didn't even, I kind of mentally glossed over that, him saying, "Oh, we have things to do," until you mentioned, like, wait a minute, what things? What are you doing? Are you going to do this to someone else? Like what's going on?
What are these things? That's the way you put so much weight on that word. These things to do. Like everything else in the world is so much more important than whatever you're doing with this child.
Yeah. And something tells me that whatever those things are, it's worse than what they're doing to Robbie,
Yeah. How scary is that? And the way he looked at me was like it was like when people like when they see a puppy and they're like, "Oh, look at him on his hind legs, he thinks he's people." Oh, like what the hell was that? I wasn't doing anything. Literally. What the hell was he talking about? Sorry, what the heck was he talking about? I couldn't. I was a statue, and he was looking at me like you do, like when people see pretty fish in an aquarium. Like, oh, look at that. That's adorable. Ugh. Ugh.
You know what?
Gross.
We'll end it there. I can't thank you enough for putting yourself through this, reliving this bizarre experience for the sake of the listeners here at the DreamerCast.
Honestly, I just want my main reason for all of this really to even coming out with this is because I don't know if anybody has had these types of experiences before too. Like people have seen, people have had experiences with various cryptids, and wendigos and skinwalkers, but like, what is this? And has anybody else gone through it? And I hope that by saying something, other people will be emboldened to be like, yeah, this also has happened to me or something similar. Because I can't have been the only one.
Maybe one day I'll be able to get this story in front of more people, but so far, I'm looking at this is over 20,000 people have seen the original story. It's like got 400 and something comments, which for my channel on YouTube, it's pretty, that's a lot. And, there's no one has come out and said that they've had an experience quite like this one. And I don't know what to make of that. I mean, I certainly have not gotten even a drop in the bucket of the human population, let alone the the people, the odds of someone who has seen something similar is in a first world country that has access to YouTube and happens to find my channel and watch that video out of 150 videos right now. It's extremely narrow of a chance that I would happen to find that person. So there's hope out there, but so far the search remains on,
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming up and telling this story again. And it's so much more impactful to hear it from your own mouth. It's a crazy, fascinating story, and I thank you again for sharing it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. I hope let's keep doing what you're doing, and I hope to keep following you. But I'm gonna go take a shower now because I feel gross.
No, I bet. I think I'll do the same. You enjoy the rest of your night, Lou. Thanks so much again.
Man. Same, Mr. X.
And there you have it, friends. Yet another fascinating look beyond the veil. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope I've convinced you to take another step or two down the rabbit hole. Make sure you subscribe to the Dreamercast, so you never miss out on our next unique journey into the realm of mystery. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to drop me a 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps me out, and I would very much appreciate it. I'd love it if you shared the show with your friends and family, anyone with a taste for the truly fascinating questions that we explore here. If you have a paranormal story of your own that you would like to share with me, head over to my website, mrxdreams.com, where you'll find a story submission page along with links to my merchandise, YouTube channel, and other ways to support the show. Until next time, my friends, I'm Mr. X Dreams, and I hope to see you again soon on the Dreamercast. Greetings, my friends. I know it's been a long time, and I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long, but I've got something very special to share with you today. I want you to know that I've been contacted by a company called Studio Earbuds. They sent me this pair of their finest equipment, Studio 12 earbuds. It's pretty much their top-of-the-line true wireless earbuds. And they didn't pay me. They didn't tell me what to say. They just said, "Hey, Mr. X, we saw your videos. We like your videos. Check these out and tell your people what you think about them." And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I do like these earbuds. They're very comfortable to wear. The sound quality is fantastic. And they even come in this little battery case, which recharges the earbuds when you pop them back in there. I've been using them for about a week and a half now, and I have not had to recharge this case the entire time. I've been using them a lot. I use them when I'm cutting the grass. I use them when I'm listening to music or listening to podcasts or YouTube videos. And here's the cool thing. They come in a bunch of different colors, and there's even a whole bunch of other products, earbud related or earphones even, over-ear, on-ear headphones on this website, sudio.com. That's sudio.com. It's a Swedish company. And if you go on this website and enter in the discount code X15, you'll get 15% off of your entire order, which is awesome because that does add up, especially when you're talking about $100, $130, $150 items. And I checked it out. It does work. And it's really crazy that I've got this opportunity and I want to share it with you all. So if you're interested, if you are in the market for wireless earbuds, these are very good quality, and I've very much enjoyed using them over the past week or two. So go to sudio.com, enter in the promo code X15 for 15% off your purchase. Thanks for listening to this advertisement, and thank you again to Studio for sponsoring this video and sending me these dope headphones. Much appreciated. All right, my friends, back to our normally scheduled programming. I say normally because I have trouble saying regularly. Regularly. I don't know why. Regularly. I don't know, maybe I got it. Take care, my friends.